Sequence start. Sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Welcome everyone once again to PCKC Cosplay Crafters. We are with Aksarben Technologies. Everyone knows him as Clay. Man, Dustin, you're on the ball with that. There's the promo right there. He's got some awesome looks. But we definitely do want to say thank you to our sponsors for helping to bring today's show together. We've got NFM, Boulevard Brewing Company, U.S. Army, KCWE, Geico, UMB Bank, Xfinity, 5 Hour Energy, T-Mobile, Kansas City Mavericks, Kansas City Live, and Oklahoma, the great state of Oklahoma, as well as my personal favorite, U.S. Toy Costume and Magic. Here we are. We've got lots of things there in the store to show, and man, that's our we're open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day now. Come on in. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different cosplay products at the store. But Clay, my friend, it has been quite a while since we've been able to catch up with each other.
Unfortunately.
Is that a Smallville shirt?
That is a Smallville shirt. It's one of my favorite cons. It is actually the first con that I ever attended in costume. And it was also the first costume contest I ever entered.
Awesome. And you've won that show a couple of different times now. And what were the pieces that you took out there?
The first one I ever took out was a full Master Chief costume from Halo 4, or Halo 3, I'm sorry. And my daughter, she wore a Halo costume that I made from Halo Reach. And she took first place and I took second place. So both
awesome.
were costumes I built, but she did a great job.
How'd you get into costuming? How'd you get into the costume building?
It's funny. I'd never even heard of cosplay or anything like that. When I was a kid, I loved Halloween. That was my favorite. And I got a divorce about 11 years ago. And as a kind of a self-therapy thing, I decided to build a kayak out of cedar strips. So I would take a 1-inch board that was cedar, and anywhere from 6 to 12 inches wide, and I would cut 1/4-inch strips. And I would take these strips and I would glue them all individually. I had probably, I don't know, about 50 or 60 things that I held them together with. And I glued it and I made a cedar kayak. Then one of my buddies, Ryan, who often cosplays with me, and he's here right now, but he doesn't like to be on camera. Ryan Garrison came to me and he says, you know what, there's this guy in Britain who made a Iron Man suit. Maybe you should make an Iron Man suit. And I loved Iron Man, and I was like, I can't make an Iron Man suit. And he's like, try it. So I bought some cardboard, and I bought some cardstock, and I bought some fiberglass and resin, and I attempted, and I failed 3 times. So then he came to me and said, well, this guy out of England made some out of craft foam. See what you can do. So I went and bought some floor mats, and I made a Iron Man suit. Now, before I made the Iron Man suit, though, Ryan came to me and said, you know what, you tried, you failed, so why don't you work on a war machine for me? I'll cut out the pieces, and you put it together, because I had a lot more time than he did. So I built him a war machine, and then we had a little bit of a problem, so I started getting into these forums and learning about foam skills. And one of the things was that I was using a knife for everything, and I found out that that dulls. So I found a better way. And every cosplayer that you go to that builds is going to tell you to do this, and I'm going to tell you don't. Time is money. And if you're wasting your time sharpening and buying these, that's costing you. So I'm going to give you a more efficient way to do it. Another thing was we had to mount this giant cannon to his back. And there was no way that you could do it with foam. We tried stacking foam, everything, but I want to make it accurate. And that's a big thing with my costumes. I want screen accuracy as close as I can, even though I'm using foam. So we built this big old M138 cannon, or I can't remember actually what it is. What is it? M134 Gatling gun. And I set it up there, and it just kept on drooping. So I looked everywhere and said, you know, let's just add fiberglass to it. Well, every single forum I went to said you cannot use fiberglass. Well, in my boat, I used epoxy resin and fiberglass and carbon fiber in order to harden the shape of the boat. So that way it still flexes if I were to hit a rock and wouldn't create a dent or wouldn't create a hole. But that way the cedars, you can still see the beautiful cedar through it. So I thought, let's use epoxy resin, because everyone else had been talking about how the polyester eats the foam, doesn't cure to the foam.
Yeah.
Well, polyester has wax in it, which is why you use it on boats and why you use it on automobiles. So that way you know when it cures, and then you sand it down and then you paint it. If it's not going to cure, it's not going to be any good. So I used epoxy resin, which is a lot more expensive, but is a different chemical. And the epoxy cured to the foam, created a hard surface, and we were able to mount the gun, which he was able to wear for a period of 6 hours without any droopage or damage. After that, my daughter convinced me to go to Planet Comic-Con, which was my first Planet Comic-Con ever. That was about 2014, maybe 2015. And she wore a costume. She wore her Halo costume, and she was a hit. She had probably between 150 and 170 people stop her for to take pictures of her. And she had one of the artists who Planet had invited as an artist there, who had drawn part of the Halo stuff. He had drawn Kat, which was the character that Kiriana was dressed in, and he stopped her, asked if he could take photos, took probably about 30 or 40 photos himself, and then he ended up giving her a free print because he was so appreciative of the quality of the costume and the fact that she let him. So after that, she said, Dad, we're going to these cons every time that we can find one. And I was like, I can't afford it. And she's like, Dad, you can make costumes, and we can go and just make another Iron Man costume. So that's what we did. We started making costumes. Started with just me, and then Ryan helped out when he could. And then Kiriana, she helped quite a bit until she became pretty close to a master at it. Ryan and I both work together, not as much anymore, unfortunately, just due to time, but he's moving to my city soon. So his poor wife is going to have to deal with that because that's going to be a lot of time. In fact, we were working on something today. We're working on over here, we're actually doing our first, we did a practice helmet a couple months ago, and we were happy with the results, but we weren't perfectly happy, and that was because we tried doing it the cheap route. So today we're actually taking a 3D printed helmet, and that we've done. Ryan has sanded. We did the prep work on it. Ryan did 90% of it. I only did the gluing part. And then we, as a team, we applied all the silicone to it, and possibly tomorrow we're going to be pulling some casts out of there. So if there's anyone that's interested in a Mandalorian helmet for a low price, and if you want to work on it yourself, do your own sanding, and you want to do your own painting, let us know. And if you don't want to and you want a finished product, let us know. The Mando back here is actually cast by a friend of mine, John from Galaxy Props, and then prepared by me. And not foam, it's resin. However, the interior is all foam, and you can see that I made it very space-like. So when you put it on, it even fits a right here in this ear cap right here, which is weird when I'm looking in the camera, right there. Mm-hmm. It actually fits a microphone so that he can talk, and it's actually in there, so it's not affecting his vision, it's not affecting the side of the helmet, anything like that, and it's completely removable. So this is almost done. It's 90% complete. It's just got to get some more details, and I've got one area here that I need to sand down and repaint, so that way it's perfect. And then that's what he's going to get. Well, and then I got to install the deal. But we're going to be building a very similar type helmet, but we're going to give options on different ears and things like that. So you could customize yourself, because we know that when you're going to a con, especially now where everybody's going to be recommended to wear masks and stuff like that, why not wear a helmet and wear a helmet that's comfortable? You could have fun with it. You can make it your Disney style. You can make it your, your Star Wars style. You can make it your Night Before Christmas style. There's so many things you could do to show off your own artistry, and we'll have a base. And the base is not going to be that expensive. So we're basically just going to time and material and a little bit of pad money, so that way we can buy some more materials.
Right,
and maybe chicken nuggets, because Ryan and I can eat the hell out of chicken nuggets. So that's how I got started.
Excellent. Well, hey, Clay, I want to give a quick shout out here for US Toy, some of the things that we've got going on. I want to remind everyone that we do, your response to the TNT foam has been amazing. We've already started calling in for new order and expanding our offering. We're bringing in the 10mm foam to have there. So keep on checking in. We're going to be bringing more and more of it in. And I also want you to use the PCC Live 20 code. That way you're going to save 20% off of your or purchase there at US Toy Costume and Magic Shop, Magic and Costume Shop. And you know, get ready for a lot of the cool things. Like I see that Planet Comic Con just announced with Nebraska Furniture Mart and US Toy Magic and Costume Shop a at-home costume contest. So I want you to go check out that post and start entering and getting prepared. Excellent. Hey, Clay, we've got a question from Bruce Holt.
Yes.
Forged in Foam. He says it's great to see you here. Question: what is your all-time favorite costume?
My all-time favorite that I've done, you know, and I've done quite a few. I'd have to say my all-time favorite was I took a clone commando from Star Wars, and I added some parts, added some greeblies, changed a little bit on the shoulders, and I did a lot of modification. But I started as the base of a clone commando, and I built what I thought Buzz Lightyear would really look like. And I absolutely loved every bit of it. The best part was, as I'm painting this Buzz Lightyear, I'm sitting in my kitchen and I'm putting on the detail work and I'm giggling. I found myself actually just laughing because it was something that I wasn't going for that was exact onto a screen copy. It wasn't something that everyone's going to be familiar with it as far as perfection of it. It was something that I was enjoying and having fun. Now, I was hoping that somebody would say, oh my gosh, that's Buzz Lightyear. And I didn't have one person ask me where it came from or why it didn't look just like the cartoon or why it didn't look just like Toy Story. And the best part about it, Bruce, was I had this little kid who has spina bifida and some other health issues. He doesn't speak. And he followed me at an event because he has an absolute love for Buzz Lightyear. This kid gave me probably 15 high fives in an hour period. And he would just follow me in his wheelchair and just walk. He'd just smile and giggle, and then he'd give me a high five. And then he'd go off, and then he'd come back, smile and giggle, and give me a high five. That one brought me so much absolute love. And I mean, and for something that I took a costume that I liked and turned it into a costume that I loved, and I did my own artistic flair with it, and it gave me that. Bruce, you know, you're an artist. You have to have a little bit of that independence and step away a little bit. I stepped away and I became Buzz Lightyear. I had the best time ever with that.
Clay, you were mentioning this kid. You get a lot of inspiration of and working with kids and doing stuff. What are your favorite charities to do with cosplay?
Some of my favorite charities, of course, have done the with the Hope KC Kids. I absolutely love what they do. It's a cancer charity out of Kansas City. They've invited me 2 years to be part of their deal when they do their flight to the North Pole. The 501st is very involved in that. I love working with the guys from the 501st. There isn't a person out of the Kansas City 501st that I wouldn't love to just stand by and talk and watch them interact with kids. You know, and especially, you know, you get some of them that are a little more stand back and watch guys, but like they're into it. Vector and I, Ron Stokes, he and I will sit there and have amazing conversations, and that guy gets involved in a lot of stuff, and he's got me involved in a lot of stuff. Another one that I really like is the Spina Bifida Foundation. And then I guess my true favorite one of all has got to be Walk and Roll and Costumes. I unfortunately cannot donate as much money as I would love to them, but I have a niece who has spina bifida, and she's been in a costume, or she's been in a wheelchair for most of her life. They told her she would never walk, but she doesn't believe doctors, so she walks. She does use crutches, but she walks. She tries to run. She has a special bicycle that she can use now. Telling her to sit in a wheelchair and live your life that way was not her way of doing things. So when I met Lon and saw what he was doing with the walk and roll costumes, so basically they build a frame around a costume, and they build a costume onto the frame. So I've seen Bumblebee, I've seen Buzz Lightyear's ship, I've seen Ant-Man. Lon's son loves the Ant-Man costume, so he built the ant, and then he wears the costume in the chair, and he even got it so that the legs move when they're going. And a foundation like that makes a kid who doesn't normally feel normal, makes them feel normal, and gives them that light to shine, and lets them dress up in something that's not just a store-bought costume, but something that says, hey, I'm here, recognize me, this is amazing. And he doesn't have a lot of money going towards that foundation because it's very, very local. But you see him in Chicago, you see him in Kansas City, you see him doing things. That to me, though, his heart, his soul that he puts into it. So whenever I can donate, I will. When I can donate time, I will to that. It's been difficult with my schedule and stuff like that. And of course, with the current state of the world, it's difficult to get together with people. But that is probably my favorite is the walk and roll and costumes out of KC. And I'll tell you what, if you ever see that they've got something coming up and they're looking for a donation, every single penny of those donations goes to some kid and his ability. And if you've got extra PVC, if you've got extra materials, foam board, anything like that, and you want to send it, get a hold of Lon Davis, and he will use it, and he will make an amazing costume. And the best part about it, he'll make an amazing costume that makes a kid smile. And you can't beat that. There should be no other reason to donate than that.
Man, there's so many good things that we can do through cosplay. But, you know, this show is about learning techniques, and you've got the knife in your hand. You say don't sharpen it? What's up with that?
Well, I'll tell you what. So I have used this maybe 10 times, and I've had this for probably 3 years. I got it at 58 cents. Over at Harbor Freight. I watch all these guys. I watch, and I'm not dissing anyone because everyone should have their own techniques. You know, there's Van Gogh's painting, and then there's, you know, Da Vinci's painting, and then there's Michelangelo's paintings. Every one of them has a different technique, but it doesn't make them less of a genius. Those are the tools that they use, and I use different tools. So most of the people are going to tell you to use one of these. I'm not going to tell you to. You can break it off and sharpen it, or you can sharpen it like this. I'm not going to tell you to. You can cut your foam with an X-Acto knife. I'm not going to tell you to do. I'm going to be the weird one, and I'm going to tell you to go buy these. These right here are an expensive set of scissors. They're $17 for a set of scissors. However, if you go to a place that uses a 40% coupon, you can get that for 40% off, which is about $6. So if you can buy this for a pair of scissors for $11, I can do about 5 to 6 full Iron Man costumes and about 10 things in between before I'd ever need to go buy one. So in the time that I'm going to sharpen this, I could buy a bunch of these. I use scissors for everything. I use 2 sizes of scissors. I use this for my larger cuts. For my thicker foam, like 10mm foam or details, I'll use the 6-inch scissors like this. So you've got your 6-inch and you've got your 7.5 inch or 7 1/4. I can't remember. This I use for long stuff, like I said, 5mm, 3mm, 2mm foam. This right here, the smaller set, I use this for 5mm and up, or I use it for small details. You're never going to go wrong with scissors. The best part about them is you get a good brand like Fiskars, like what these are right here, or Singers, Fiskars. I would go with Singers because these are the heavy duty ones. So these are meant to cut leather, cut denim, things like that. They have a better shaped blade on them. These babies are going to last you. I have used 4 sets of scissors in the last 5 years. These are number 3 and 4. This one is for cloth only though. And it's marked that way because when people come over and grab my scissors, apparently you're not allowed to stab them. So I use scissors
unless you're wearing cloth.
Number one, I get a straight cut every time. Another thing that I've seen before is when I'm watching online and I see someone say, well, you need a beveled cut, so you want to bevel that at 45 degrees and you want to go down. And you know what? I'm using a sharp one apparently, so it's not too bad. But let me show you something different in the cuts that I'm not sure that you'll be able to see perfectly on camera, but we're going to try. On camera, you might be able to see the hesitation marks. Yep, you can. Those hesitation marks, you can sand down, you can hit it with a Dremel, and you're going to have a pretty good deal. But when you connect the two 45-degree angles, you're going to have a perfect square, but you're going to have those marks. So when I do it with a pair of scissors, we're just going to cut that off and give me another straight edge to work with. I can cut a 45-degree I have 2 hesitation marks instead of 100, and I have a perfect 45-degree angle right there. And you can't do that with a knife, no matter how hard you try. The human factor is that I'm using a part of the blade that's only going to be about 5 millimeters thick, where here I'm using an entire blade and I'm using a steady grip on it. So I'm able to do that. Another thing here is when I'm doing this, this is from a blade. I'm a son of a bladesmith, which is kind of unusual. When you're cutting with a blade, most people will saw, like I did. You saw me sawing a little bit, but a blade should not be sawn. Only certain blades should be sawn, bread knives or serrated blades. Other blades should be done smoothly and should be used at an angle so that everything is being touched. A lot of people don't do that. They do it at an angle like this, which is inappropriate. It should be almost this angle right here. Ryan was looking at me like he's going to cut his hand off right on camera, but it didn't happen. Yeah. When you think about the angle that's coming down here, it forces you to follow that exact angle so that you're always staying steady at the same angle and you're staying at the same pace. And since you're moving your hands away from it, you're able to give that more perfect line there. So that's one of the tools that I would tell you to use that others are not going to tell you to use. And I know that there's a lot of you that are out there saying, yeah, well, I use my X-Acto knife and it works just fine. Good, keep doing it. But I'll tell you what, I challenge you to use a set of scissors on 5 millimeter or below especially. You're going to be happy. In fact, you're going to be real happy. You're going to email me later and say, I should have bought scissors 3 years ago. And I'll be like, yeah, because I told you to. No, everyone's got a different tool, but that's my secret right there. That set of scissors, just that set of scissors has done 2 full Ironman suits and several things in between. And I even use it on Sentra. I'll use the smaller. I don't have them out here. They're inside. But this is Sentra, which is a type of foam. It's a hard foam. It's polyvinyl chloride. Sentra is one of the names. Paylite is one of the names for it. Other people will call it PVC because it's polyvinyl chloride. But polyvinyl chloride is something that I use in a lot of my costumes as well. And you can do some of it with scissors. Some of it you can't due to the thickness. So if you're doing that, then I would always suggest using a disposable razor knife. So it's got the little disposable razors right there in the end. And that's what I use to do paylite with. But you can use scissors for long straight cuts. But this is going to work better for your small cuts because this is it's a hard surface. I mean, it's a very, very hard surface. There's a lot of people probably thinking this is going to be really funny today, but no, we're good.
So real quick, we've got a couple PSAs from Abby. We've got never use the fabric scissors for anything else except fabric, and then keep Band-Aids handy. Craft glue and tape are just not the same. Hey,
I'm not a big believer in Band-Aids, Abby, because I had a kid, and you know, Band-Aids just disappear as it is. This is where I stab myself because you should never cut towards yourself, so I cut towards my hand instead. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. That right there, super glue is an absolutely amazing thing. Hot glue works in a pinch with some fabric, but super glue is my recommendation. It works every time. It's a lot better than going to the ER because super glue is only $4 or $5. By the way, you cannot find it in the first aid section. You can only find it in the hardware section. If you're going to go to the EM or the ER, they're just going to super glue it anyway, and it's going to cost you like $600. So just do it at home. I do everything at home. I did my own appendectomy at home. Not really, but I wanted to. I was going to use foam.
But you tried.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, and E for effort there, buddy.
Thank you.
We I wanted to ask, what are some of your favorite materials to work with? Because you pointed out the PVC foam, you've got the EVA foam. What what's your preference on what you like to work with?
It kind of just depends. Like everything has its own direction that it needs to go, and so it kind of depends. Hand me that right there behind you, real quick, and then hand me one of those rifles up there. So, if I'm going to take a sword, like this is going to be a Deathstroke sword. It's still in process. This is going to be something I want that's going to be con safe. So this is made out of PVC. It is PVC foam. It's rigid, but as you can see, it does flex. It's not going to cut somebody, but it's going to give that idea so that when you're like this, your sword's not drooping. Which, let me tell you, when you're taking pictures with a bunch of gals, you don't want your sword drooping. But it's going to be nice, firm, and rigid, and it makes for it nice to be carried on you. If you're looking for lightweight and you want a weapon, then you know you can have your Halo firearm right here. PVC pipe for the barrel. Everything else is 10 millimeter EVA foam. So it's completely flexible. It's lightweight. It doesn't weigh hardly anything at all. I mean, it basically just floats through the air, and it's a lot easier to carry. So if you're going to be carrying this for 6-7 hours and you want kids to be able to hold it, things like that, you know, and a lot of these, this is one that I did, but a lot of my weapons, if you ever look at my weapons closely, I usually don't put a trigger on them. That way when you go to a con, some kid's not feeling that need to put their booger hook on that thing. But I like to make things out of foam, like EVA foam for a weapon, just because hours and hours of holding something like this in a hot con, taking pictures, things like that. This weighs, I don't even know what it weighs, maybe 4 ounces, 5 ounces. So there's not a lot of weight. I could carry this absolutely all day. For something like that, I'm going a little more detailed as far as accuracy. This is a work in progress. This is a Bergman pistol. You might have seen it on like the Mandalorian. This is one of the Mandalorian's weapons that he carries down here. This is a Bergman pistol. This is made out of PVC board, which is I think 10 millimeters thick. And then this is PVC foam. This is a PVC piece right here that's only the 3 millimeter PVC. And then this right here is 3D printed on top and then covered in epoxy for strength. So this is going to be built of a few different things. There's going to be a piece of wood right here. I'm going to have PVC style grips, but I'm going to make them look like wood. So PVC is one of my favorite materials to use. You can shape it easily, but you cannot do things like this with. This is just your standard floor mat 10 millimeter foam. So if you need this for a hat, I can't remember what I made this for. Obviously, I didn't end up using it. You know, I mean, like huge breastplate. You know, that was made of your mom's breastplate. You know, that kind of thing. That's what a foam is good for. Helmets, I love using regular foam for that. This right here is a custom sniper rifle that I've just started. And it's going to be obviously longer because it's not going to be an 18-inch sniper rifle. This is 2 PVC boards glued together and then sanded down. I'm making this one completely dremeling it and drilling it out. So it's got a long, long ways to go, but it's going to be a pretty awesome Star Warsy Mandalorian sniper rifle with no trigger. This is the whole trigger. I don't know how it's going to work, but that's how it's going to work. So
now you're building a lot of commissioned props for other people.
Do what?
How do folks get? You're building a lot of commissioned props, aren't you?
I am.
So how do people get in touch with you to order those things?
Most of them are friends of mine, or they'll find me on Etsy. On Etsy, I sell just a few props, things like that. But I'll get some people that'll find me on Etsy, or they'll find me on actually Instagram is probably where I get most of my commissions from that aren't friends or people that have run into me before. This week, I've got the Deathstroke that I'm working on, and then I got contacted about wings because one of the things I'm really good at is building wings. So I've got 2 sets of wings that I'm looking at here in the future. The Bergman is for me, which is why I've been working on it for like 4 months because it'll never get done. because I'm always working on other people's stuff. This is a piece of armor that's from the Deathstroke piece. There's another shoulder piece that goes down below it. This is made out, it's going to be a hard armor, so it's a little more difficult to work with, but I've worked with it enough. Every once in a while I need a break. So these are masks that I just did that are on Etsy. And basically they work, they fit over a COVID-19 3D printed mask, and they just fit right on the shell of it. So that way it's like this. I wanted to make something kind of fancy, kind of swarzy that you could walk in and be like, you know what? I want to wear that into the store because I want people to look at me. Because let's be honest, that's why we do our hair. We want people to look at us. That's why we brush our teeth. We want people to look at us. We want to look good. So why not look good and make people question why you did it? Because that's what it's all about. And plus, you can make some kids smile, and that's the important thing. So these are very, very lightweight, but they are made of PVC. Out of the PVC stuff, this is PVC parts. This is parts off of an old phone right here, the shell right here. So you can make these out of regular foam too. You can make these out of craft foam. You can make these out of PVC. You can make things. I get a lot of people that come to me and say, you know, I want you to commission, but I can't afford you. And I'm like, then do it yourself. Oh, well, I can't do it. Yeah, you can. I mean, we're talking, it's going to cost you less than $100 to get started. So your biggest expense is going to be on these two items right here. A good set of scissors, and make sure you get a high quality, high heat glue gun. Don't get the low quality stuff at Walmart that's $3. Go to a place, you know, I don't know if TNT, or I mean, if the costume shop has one.
We've got some, but we're working on getting more specialized for cosplay.
Try to get something like these Pro 80s by Adtech. They're a very high temperature, but I'm going to bring it up towards the camera. One of the things that I love about it is it has a built-in stand, so I don't have to worry about it hitting anything. It sits on its own real nice. Another thing I like is it's got two tips that you could put on it. This is the tip that I normally use, and it's more of an exact tip. Your cheaper ones have a cone tip, and you can't put a small amount of foam on there, or I mean a small amount of glue. This one you can put a small amount of glue on there, which makes it better. It's got nice heat sinks on both sides to let the heat out of the internal part, which is important. I get about a year out of this one, where the small ones I've had catch on fire in about 3 months. I leave it plugged in whenever I'm working, and then I unplug it when I'm not, because if you don't, these high heat ones do reach very, very high temperature. But it is definitely worth going with the larger trigger, which is nice, using all your fingers rather than just this part, especially when glue gets caught up in here. So you're using less strength. Less strength means that if you're not pushing as hard on it, then you're going to be able to make a finer line with finer amount of control. And control is the important issue. Also, when you're doing this, if you don't have that cone and you have this exact piece like this, it's a lot easier to spread that foam. So like if you're putting it on a 45-degree angle, put you a small line right down the middle, and then use that tip to spread that, and then stick it to the other piece, and you're going to be very, very happy with the results, because it's also an instant stick, which is nice. And then you can always come back on the inside, or you can come out on the outside and reinforce it with another line of glue. But you know, so right there we're at about $45. $45, and you go buy a sheet of foam, you know, you're going to want three sizes.
US Toy.
Yeah, the US Toys has got TNT cosplay foam. So you're going to have 10 millimeter, you're going to have 5 millimeter, you're going to have 2 millimeter, and possibly 3 millimeter. Do you have 3 millimeter?
Mm-hmm. We have a wide variety. I think I went with 2, 4, 8, and 12. We're
Perfect.
10 and
Perfect.
6 coming in. So
6. If you're building a large piece of armor, you're going to want to use 5 or 6. For any of the stuff on the outside of it, you're going to want to use 2 or 3 millimeter, things like that, because layers are important. I'm looking around here looking for something with layers. We're just going to reach up here, and we're going to grab an Iron Man leg, of all things. So Iron Man, like Shrek, has layers.
Yeah, and onions. And onions.
Yes, and smells a little oniony on the inside. But So I smelled my knee, not my crotch. But so here's 5mm right here. This is 5mm. Even on the inside is 5mm right there. And then I've got other things to reinforce it. I've got 6mm right here on the edges, so that way it gives a little more strength on that inner or on the outer edge. Down here on the lower part of the leg, you can see that the layering adds a lot of depth and detail that just attracts the eye. And so having different layers is important. This right here is just a channel of 3mm that's cut really nice and thin and just glued to the outside there, so that way it gives it a perfect, I don't know, channel. I use, on the shoes, it's all 5 and 6mm, except the bottom is 10mm. It's like camera's the opposite way. On the inside, you can see there's a lot of layers.
Yeah.
And some canvas fabric, which canvas fabric is very, very important. Canvas fabric is one of my favorite, like, secrets. This is the first time I've ever talked about it. I use a lot of canvas fabric for, you never know when you throw something up in the attic if it's going to come back down.
Yeah.
I use a lot of canvas fabric. You can get this in different weights, but I use a lot of canvas fabric because it holds onto glue and it reinforces everything. So when your glue starts to fall apart, especially in your Kansas City area, when you have a con in the middle of May and it's 100 degrees out downtown and your foam suit is another 140 degrees, that canvas fabric will help dissipate that heat, and it will also help hold those pieces together as they're stressed. So I use a lot of things with foam. I absolutely love that, but all that stuff you can get there at TNT, or all that TNT cosplay foam is really, really good, and it's nice that you guys have that magic shop where you can get all that stuff.
You know, other things that you can pick up at the US Toy for your cosplay, we just got in a bunch of those stick effects masks, and they're silicone and they stick to your face. And I've had the one that I've been messing with for 6-7 weeks up at the store, and it still sticks to my face, and it's amazing. Stick effects masks, come on in, they're $24.99, but use that PCC Live 20 for 20% off at US Toy, and use it towards the cosplay contest that Planet Comic Con is getting going. Make sure to check out that post and start getting everything, the rules, regulations, and how to enter, and what we're looking for. And then we're going to do a big old show here. But definitely check out US Toy and get those, get what you need for your next cosplay from us. So Clay, man, that canvas tape is what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I hadn't heard about that. One of the questions I like to ask to just about every cosplayer that comes on the show, if cost is no issue, what's the build you want to make?
Wow. If cost were no issue, I would have a fully working servos and everything Mark 85 Iron Man costume. However, cost is a big issue on that. I try to stay on the lower budget side, mostly because I don't have a big budget. I don't charge a lot for my commissions, and it's not about making money off of them as much as it is to, it's a self-challenge, and it's something that keeps me moving and gives me, so little weird thing is I've got diabetes, and I've got really bad resistance to drugs. So because of that, I've got some health issues such as arthritis in my feet, my knees, my elbows, and my wrists and hands and fingers. So it's a constant exercise. Every time that I squeeze the scissors, I'm actually working out, you know, fighting that diabetes from tearing apart my joints. So, you know, I do a lot of that out of fun, but I have to stay within a budget because I don't make a lot of money where I work. I make a decent amount, and it's a decent amount to live, but it's not where I can go buy a costume or anything like that. So I try to keep everything within a budget, and, you know, but if I could, I would buy some big old 3D printers, and I'd have that thing 3D printed in like an expensive PETG resin, and I'd have the doors that open up and lights, and I'd have Jarvis in there, and I'd even have a circulation system that I could drink my own pee if I needed to for water. Not really. You know, I would have, that would be the ultimate, have the mask flip up, everything. I've had my mask flip up in the past, but it's always been cheating. It's always been because some wire and spring, and I go like that, and then I go like that, and it comes back down. I'm really good at making things look like they work when they really don't work. So it's all about the illusion, which is what costuming and cosplay is partly about, is that illusion. But if I could, that's what I'd have, is a working similar like that Iron Man suit. I'd be at every event. I'd never do any other costume. I'd just be Iron Man, because that'd be badass. Plus, if I could have air conditioning inside it, you know, total bonus. Water cooled suit. That would be what I'd. Nice. That's what I would ultimately have.
Well, okay. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. You've shown us a couple of tools in your work area there. What are your top 5 favorite tools?
Top 5 favorite tools are definitely, this would be my number 1 right here. This would be my number 2 right here, which is contact cement. Little thing on that, just a little sidebar on that. Contact cement, you buy it in a big giant bucket. I've got a gallon of it down there below. It's not real easy to get your contact cement out of there with a brush, because it gums up your brush. It's not easy to use foam, blah, blah, blah. I don't like that. So what I do is I go buy this bottle of rubber cement for like $5 at your local department store. I take the rubber cement and I pour it out into my fire pit, which is a great fire starter, by the way. I light it on fire. I enjoy my fire pit, and I let this dry overnight. Then I take and I pour my contact cement into there, which the bonus on that is, 1, it keeps my contact cement good. 2, it already has a brush in there that always stays. This is beside me. I've got 2 of these everywhere I go. This is just the same rubber cement deal, except that I made a holder out of it, out of foam. I want to make what looked like some kind of Viking glass thing. I don't know. So I made it out of foam. So that'd be my number 2 favorite tool, which I know that it's a goose, so it's not a tool as you see it, but it's a tool. My 3rd favorite is this cheap little knife right here. I got one in my pocket. I've got one in my work pocket. They fit in the little coin pocket on men's jeans. They fit nice. You can go anywhere with it. It's convenient. It's perfect for everything. It opens, closes. I have 3 of them sitting right here on my desk because I'm a man. And when I walk away from my desk, God only knows where I put my tools. So that's the thing. My next favorite tool has got to be the high heat gun. And then the last favorite tool of the 5 is over here. I got to make sure I don't get my helmet. Is right here, and that's the inexpensive Drill Master heat gun. You can get these for about $14 at Harbor Freight. And people are like, well, it's pretty cheap. It works. I've burned out 2 of them in the last 3 years, 4 years since I've been using them. How many of you burn out, Ryan? Any? None. No. Kiriana burn out 1. So if I look at that, so in 3 years, this will be my 4th gun. So, you know, you're looking at $15 a year. When you think about that, $15 a year, come on, you can get that tool, skip a McDonald's lunch, you're good. I don't get super expensive. My tool, the most expensive tool I've got are my scissors, because that's what gives you the clean lines. You guys looked at that Iron Man that I had. Its lines were absolutely clean. I've got a helmet here that was very difficult to make, just because of the lines of it and everything. It was based on the Samurai Boba Fett toy, and one of the things that is necessary is these perfectly clean lines. These curves are made with the heat gun to get that perfect curve in there. These right here are just made out of, I just punched 2mm foam and got those out of it. They're not even real. But to get those perfect seams, so that way you've got the perfect angles, everything, you really need a really good set of scissors. If you look at that over a sharp knife, I honestly feel that the scissors are superior. There are others. I know that Bruce uses a knife, SKS uses a knife, and I love that everyone does, because I use one too. But scissors are my kind of go-to tool, and definitely my number one. By the way, this is signed right here by Daniel Logan, who played Boba Fett in the prequels. So, and also in one of the cartoons, Clone Wars. So kind of a cool deal there. He signed that. I didn't even ask him to, but he was like, hey, mate, when I see your helmet, and I was like, yeah, and he's like, you mind if I sign it right here? And I was like, that's awesome. And he's like, yeah, any friend of Boba Fett's a friend of mine. So good guy right there. But that was my terrible New Zealand accent, by the way. So, but those are my favorite tools, but definitely the scissors. The scissors are just ultimately, if I don't have my scissors, I'm lost. And in fact, my scissors actually go with me to every con. I take my con scissors, I take one deal of hot glue, and I take one deal of contact cement. So those go to every con.
Excellent. Hey, I want to take one last chance to pay the bills here.
Yeah.
We have Rockstar Wigs out at US Toy Magic and Costume Shop. We're open from 10A to 6P at 119th and Metcalf in Overland Park. The Rockstar Wigs are just absolutely amazing. They're heat resistant, so they're easy to style. They've got a front lace. They're just tremendous. But I want you, once again, to take a look at all the things. If you need Maron makeup, if you need a wig, if you need foam, if you need adhesives, we've got a bunch of them over on the US Toy side. And you can come over and use that PCC Live 20 for 20% off at US Toy to get you the things that you need to build in town. We're open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day. Look up the Planet Comic Con virtual cosplay contests on Facebook and Instagram and get yourself set up. We're going to give away some great prizes. So, hey, Clay, we've got a couple of minutes left. I wanted to ask real quick about the silicone you're working with.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's been the most difficult part for you to get that set up?
So this sounds funny. Actually, I am seriously intimidated by silicone. I've been intimidated by the entire process of molding and things like that. I only started about 2 years ago with that, and I've kind of kept it in a background. Ryan's been pushing me to continue with it, and so I tried a few cheap methods that I read on how to do some things just so that I could get some necessary costumes done. One of them, I wanted to do the Lannister armor from Game of Thrones, and I could not find, I could build the armor, I could do everything just fine, and I was really happy with it, carved all the symbols in the armor. The armor is gorgeous. The hardest part, though, was the Lannister soldiers have a plain pauldron, which is just round. The Lannister sergeants have a plain pauldron, except it has a lion square on the shoulder, which is kind of like that little guy right there, and it just fits right there on their shoulder. And then your Lannister lieutenants all have a lieutenant and above wear one pauldron that has a lion that is just absolutely huge, and it's a three-dimensional, carved relief of a lion. And then your Lannister commanders all wear both, or one on each shoulder, plus they wear a gorget with lions and some other plates on it. I really needed that lion, so I tried having it 3D printed, but it wasn't exact. I tried buying it. I found a guy on Etsy that was selling each side for $150. And I really didn't want to put $300 into a costume that I was probably going to wear once, maybe twice. So I think it was Ryan who suggested, or maybe it was my daughter who suggested, that I use clay. And I actually took clay and I sculpted the lion. And then I used silicone, and I went the cheap route, and I used household silicone, about 2 of these tubes mixed with some dish soap, which takes the vinegar smell out of it, which actually what it does, it neutralizes the acetic acid. And I took the acetic acid, removed silicone, and I made a mold, and I was able to get 2 full lion heads out of the mold using resin. So it was something that I was like really, really intimidated by, but it was one of those things I needed to do. So I did it, and it ended up being freaking awesome. Can you hear me one second? I really loved how I did it. So then we decided that usually when you go buy a helmet, like this right here, my buddy John will sell you one, and he does an amazing job. He sculpts these, and then he casts these, and he makes them absolutely beautiful. The problem is that, and problem is for me, you know, when you go pay $200 for a helmet, it's $200, and that's intimidating to me, and it's a good portion of my paycheck. That'd be almost half of my bi-weekly paycheck after taxes and all that kind of stuff. So $200 is significant to me. So what can I make it for? Well, John was like, Clay, you have the skills. Why aren't you making your own? And then I was like, well, I'm intimidated. Clay, you have the skills. Why aren't you making your own? He's like, trust me, I love having your money, but you have the skills. Why am I taking your money when you could be learning and doing it yourself? So Ryan and I went up, we had a talk with him. He said he would train us, but then we're like, no, we're just going to do it ourselves. So this is our first time not using cheap ass silicone. This is an expensive silicone. It's about $140, $150 for 1 gallon. We've used 9 ounces so far. By the time that we are done, we'll have used 36 ounces of it, possibly 40 ounces of it. So half of that. So we're talking about, I don't know, $60 worth of silicone in here. And then we're going to use our own resin that we've got. And we're going to we bought the resin. The resin was another $120. But we can get about 4 helmets out of $120. So we're looking at $90 a helmet. And we get to do our own. So we get to do our own thing. We get to, right here in the front, it says RC 719. So that's our date. So if you were to buy one of our helmets, that's what's going to be right in the visor, is an RC, which is Ryan Clay 719, which is the day that we cast it, or the day we did this mold. And we're going to be doing a couple other ones. So if this one works out, you can probably see some more silicone casting or resin castings come out. I've tried a couple shoulders, and so far I'm pretty thrilled with how my shoulders have turned out. What I did was I 3D printed a shoulder, sanded it all down. This is off of the Mandalorian, and we're making our own armor. And now I will tell you that if you go buy something from someone else, it's going to be probably perfect. Because we're learning and things like that, this is what I would call a B armor. So there's a dent right there. Well, if you're familiar with Mandalorians and you're familiar with Star Wars, there's a lot of damage going on. So my thing is, why not just take advantage of it? So I'll be selling these for, you know, a small price too, just because it gives me the opportunity to get better. It gives you an opportunity to buy something at a cheaper price. Now, if you want one that's high quality, go to John. If you want one that you don't mind practicing on or beating up, or you want the dents in it, you want to, I mean, this is one that I want to walk over here and I want to add some damage. I can grab my drill and I can do a bullet hole right here. And while it looks sloppy now, once I paint that sucker up, it is going to be the perfect little blast point for things. And the thing is, I'm going to use this piece right here on my newest Mando costume, which is going to be, it's not going to be off a show or anything. It's going to be completely custom. But it's going to go with my backpack. John is the guy I go to for backpacks. This was a B backpack. So it was one that was damaged in a pull. And you could see on the side there where the damage was, but I made it, painted it, looked like it was real damage. So when you see it and you're like, my God, that's an amazing paint job. It's not 100% me. It's partly that I took something that was damaged and made it a happy little accident. This thing all lights up and everything. But you know, when you're doing this kind of stuff, if you've got an accident like you've got that right there, why not turn it into something? So while I'm practicing, would be a good time to contact me and say, hey, how much one of those shoulder bells cost? And I'll get you one right away, because the more practice I get, the better I'm going to get. And if you can deal with something that I would consider a B model, and you're happy with building your own stuff on it, go for it. You know, a year from now, the B model that I've got is going to be 10 times better than the B model I have. So it's something that I'm always learning. This right here is going to turn out perfect. I hope. The first time we did it, it wasn't perfect, but I was happy with it because it was something I could take something that was kind of nothing and turn it into something. And this one right here is going to turn out even better. So we're going to put our next coat of resin on after this podcast here. And then we're looking at probably 3 more layers tonight. And then it has to cure for 12 hours after the last layer. And then we're going to be doing our first casting tomorrow. So we've got to build, we got to do this right here. Like I said, put 3 more layers on top of it. And then we have to build what's called a mother mold. Ryan, can you reach up there and grab my mother mold? It's on the top shelf on the right side. And we're going to do a mother mold, which helps keep things together and it makes it help to do things. So when we cast, this is what the resin is going to look like right here. Silicone. Or the silicone is going to look like. And that silicone will hold our resin because we'll put liquid resin in there, which heats up to hundreds of degrees. But to keep it all from being flexible, we put it in what's called a mother mold. And so, like I said, we're learning. I'm not an expert. I'm not John. I'm not Steven. I'm not those guys yet. I would say that I'm a master and in some things a doctor, but this is not where my doctorate would be. But this right here is what is going to end up happening. So you've got a hard mother mold, so I can slush cast this. And then once it's cured, I can pull this out of the mold. And then I can keep the mold and I can keep the silicone. So this one's got probably another 10 to 15 pulls. I can see I've got one cut right there. So if you want one and you don't want to pay a lot of money, I mean, we're talking like 15 bucks a shoulder, get a hold of me and I'll get it to you. And if you want me to paint it up, we can work something out with that too. But I don't charge a lot, but I want to be able to refill my stock of materials so that way I can learn more. And that's one way to do it. So you end up with something, I end up with something, we all end up with something. Hopefully it's halfway good. So.
Excellent. Right. Excellent. Well, hey.
Yeah.
We want to say thank you for your time and wisdom and sharing your secrets with us. Well, we'll be back next week with here at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Man, I've forgotten who I have on the calendar. We're going to be putting up a bunch of the shows we're going under new stuff. Dustin's got it handled. We're going to be showing a bunch of people. I know we've got the 501st coming up. I know we've got Evil Ted on the way.
Wow.
And we'll have the pros and cons cosplay coming back and helping us out with a couple of hosting us some shows. And so we just want to thank you all for tuning in and watching us here with the Cosplay Corner, and say thank you to our sponsors once again, U.S. Toy Magic and Costume Shop, as well as NFM, Boulevard Brewing Company, U.S. Army, KCWE, Geico, UMB Bank, Xfinity, 5 Hour Energy, T-Mobile, Kansas City Mavericks, Kansas City Live, and the great state of Oklahoma. Thank you all so much for sponsoring the show and helping us keep everything alive with Planet Comic Con. We're looking forward to seeing everyone. Check out the link for the cosplay contest. Get set up. We're going to have some fantastic prizes, and we're going to be doing that show here before too long. Clay, once again, thank you so very much for coming and helping us out and showing us what goes on in your shop. And it's been a blessing and an education, sir. And we'll get together soon. We need to go get some Mexican. So
real quick here, I just want to say thank you to you, and thank you to the Magic Shop. Also, thank you to Planet Comic Con and Nebraska Furniture Mart. I did a little reading thing with Nebraska Furniture Mart as Iron Man. I got to read Frozen here about 2 weeks ago as one of their little things that they do for kids. Last year for Planet Comic Con, I got to be one of the people that Vector Stokes assigned to help take some kids that had cancer around to meet some of the celebrities. And Planet doesn't have to do that, and they do. And the charity work that they do, the things that they bring to the community beyond just let's have a comic book convention, are absolutely amazing. And you know, and I get all my makeup there at the Magic Shop, US Toys. So I just want to thank all of you guys for not only having me, but I want to thank you for what you do beyond this and beyond what you just normally do as a company. So thanks.
Well, thank you very kindly. Everyone, we'll see you next week at 2 o'clock, and we'll talk to you throughout the week, let you know what's coming up. We'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye.
Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.